Alright, so today we would like to talk about target setting, and in this session we're just mainly spending time on two aspects. One is on the why side, the purpose. So why we need to have the goal setting, okay? And the other side, the other part that we are going to spend time will be on the how side. So how to set, how to do the target setting. Right, so mainly only these two things, but I would say that if you are going to, grasp the essential idea and concept about these two things regarding to the why, the purpose of having the target setting, and also how to make an effective target setting, I would say you've been having a very good skill. So no matter how much, the master degree, business degree that you are going to take, and then probably it's just talking about, these two things. And today I'm going to, explain it in a much more simple way to let you understand and digest and apply it later. For the why side, talking about the purpose. Well, to make it very abstract, I would say making the targets would be very essential for having one single word called motivations. As you know, in our life, we always say that if there's no target, if there's no goal, if there's no dream, we won't be able to feel, energetic, passionate, behavior that we would like to, do these things, energetically. So it's so important for us to have a target setting, and then target setting bring motivation. That's why we need to have a target setting. But when we go back to the workplace setting, I do believe that every single company would have their own company targets. So every single company, every year they need to fulfill certain things. That's about company target. And thinking it from a waterfall approach, so you know that every department, would have the department target in order to fulfill that company target. And in each department, there will be different team, so there will be team targets. And inside the team, there will be different individuals. So individual would also carry different targets. When thinking it from bottoms up approach, so you found that when an individual fulfill the target, achieve the target, and then the team achieve the target, and then the department achieve the target, and finally the whole company would achieve their target. So that's why I just would like to stress that the target setting is so important for commercial firm, for them also to to achieve their business target for that year, that single year. Well, here I would like to put it into another concept, which is actually quite interesting. We call it as a three-circle concept. You found that if you can really set up this circle, think through this circle, and find out the overlapped idea, that would be the most, I would say, motivated target that you will be able to set up. Right, so the first thing is all about must. Okay, so in a way to say, every people, we got salary from our company, so we are being hired as a certain function. So there would be some must. A company request to the staff that a staff should fulfill, so that is my must responsibility, alright? So that is so important for me to understand that my must area, where it is, what is it exactly, we need to know about that. But in that sense, human is a very, unique, creature, alright? So because we have free will, we know what we want. There should be something also what we want. Think about that. If you just execute every single thing that is actually a must for me, but not care about what I want to do, I would just behave like a robot. But I'm not. I'm a human. So definitely there will be something related to the want side. Not only must and want, and finally it comes to another very important thing as well. It's called can. My ability. Company requests me to do certain thing, which is my must responsibility. And as a humankind, I also know my preferences, that's my want. However, with a must and want, it doesn't mean that I'm capable to do that. So that's why I need also understand well about my can, my ability. Or even not just the ability, that means the potential, the potentiality. It's also one of the very important things that I need to take into account when I'm going to consider my target setting. When you are able to find out this overlap the circle, as I mentioned, overlap the area, with your must, with your want, and also with your can, to set up it as your yearly target, your half-year target, then definitely it will become your very much motivational target. to make my sentences, to correct my sentences that I start with, target setting brings motivations. Target setting brings motivation. Actually, it's wrong, or it's not sufficient. I would say an effective target setting will bring motivation, and that effective target setting should be having a deep consideration about a must, want, and can. These three elements to find out the overlap area, and then it will become a very motivated target setting. All right, so in short, for the why side, why we need to do that? We really want to have motivation. We want to feel passion. We need to be energetic in our work. We need to be energetic in our life. So that's why target setting is so much important for boosting up this motivation. That's the why side. When we come to the how side, today, I'm not going to talk a lot of different kind of very fancy technique. If you open a business book and then you find target setting, there will be a lot of different ways talking about target setting. But today, I will just try to share and explain two very fundamental concepts. However, if you are able to really understand well about these two fundamental concepts, really and also able to apply effectively on your real work, then definitely, no matter how many books you are not going to read, and how many courses, and how many seminars, how many degrees you're not going to take, then probably you'll be very much sophisticated in your target setting. All right. So these two concepts on the how side is so important. So first, it's very prominent, very famous. Okay. We always talk about SMART goal, SMART target. So this SMART is actually representing 5 different parameters, 5 different indicators, showing that your target setting is actually an effective one or not. So S, aside from S, that is specific, very much specific, very concrete. It's nothing abstract, it's nothing very vague, it's things very specific. Think about that. Okay, my goal in 2018, say for example, would be healthy. Be healthy. All right, be healthy is something good. However, be healthy is nothing about indicating about a concrete action that I can follow. I don't know what to do. So it's nothing that specific enough. If you want to make your being healthy to be more specific, what you can do? Losing some weight, intake healthy food. Say for example, the times of going to see doctor, the time for spending on sports, exercise, or sleep quality. There are lots more things that can represent be healthy in a very concrete way. But if we are not going to cascade down to this concrete level, it's not easy for us to know that what to do. So that's why specific is so important for the first SMART parameter. And then the other one is called M, which is measurable. Measurable. All right. So we actually need to make it to be very much quantified and be able to count whether you achieve it or not, whether you really fulfill it or not. So there are 2 different reasons why we need to make our target to be measurable. First, we treat it as a kind of like milestone, a little bit like a hurdle. When you when you cross over that hurdle, you found what? You found motivation again. In order to make your target setting to be having some milestone, having some small win celebration, you need to make it very much quantified and measurable, in indicating that you've been achieved that, just like hiking. All right, there is the mountain, okay, that we want to go to the tip. But actually, it's not easy for us to go straight to there. We need to set up a lot of different milestones. Okay, so the first 2 kilometers, the first 5 kilometers, the first 10 kilometers, we need to have the milestone indicating that we are on the right track. Okay, it brings us motivation again. Right, and then the second reason why we need to make it to be very much measurable, because particularly in business setting, in a workplace, so our boss, our superior, so actually in a lot of different conversation, it's a little bit like, psychological contract. It's a mutual agreement on certain things. So if we are not going to make our target to be measurable, it induces a lot of different argument and conflict, which is not good. So that's why, the reason why we need to make it measurable is makes so much sense in the commercial firm, right? And then the 8. All right, so it's a little bit interesting, which is agreeable. Well, usually when you use SMART goals, SMART target setting into marketing, you will always find it to be attainable, achievable, indicating that it should be something that you will be able to do that, right? But in management, intentionally we use this word, agreeable. As said earlier on, we really need to have our superior and also subordinate to be very much mutually agree on certain things. So that's why agreeable, representing some kind of communication. We really need to communicate each other. All right. So that's the reason we put it as agreeable. Right. And then out. What's that? Realistic. All right. So we're placing about attainable, achievable, realistic actually represent the same meaning. Say for example, if you really set up a non-realistic goal, so there would be no motivation at all, right? So and also in a simple way to say, if that is not realistic, so that's not meaningful to have such target setting, right? So realistic comes to a very important element as well. And finally, it is time-bounded, all right? So with the right target, with the right time setting, is so much important. For example, I want to reduce, say for example, 10 pounds. Think about that. If my time setting is, within a week, I need to have 10 pounds lost. Oh my God, it's so challenging. It's so challenging, right? But suddenly, no, it's actually not in a week. I want to lose, 10 pounds in 2 years. Oh, come on. It's just so... would it be too easy, inducing you no motivations? So effective target setting always count on the right time bounded, the right time setting as well. So that's why this SMART representing about specific, measurable, agreeable, realistic, and also time bounded will be a very essential and effective parameter for you to see the goal. If that goal fulfill these 5 indicators, then your goal, your target will be a very effective one. All right. So. But some people talk to me that, hey, I still found that 5 parameters is actually not easy for me to memorize. All right, I just want to make the life easier. You don't actually need to remember 5. Well, actually, you just remember 3 is enough. And other concepts that I'm going to dive in would be what we call as a golden triangle. Golden triangle. You see, every single target is actually brought by this triangle, and this triangle represents actually 3 questions in your target statement, and definitely you need to find out the answer of these 3 questions, which is so important. Okay, first of all, which is what to do. All right, so well, at least you need to indicate what's the specific action that you are going to do, right? So when talking about specific action, that related to SMART's S. Right? And the other thing is actually not only about what to do, but how much to do. Okay? So not only about the action, but how much extent, how much you would like to achieve. So that is very much measurable. Alright? So you see that is related to M. And finally, use how many times. That means when to finish. It's also very important, and directly you can relate it to the time-bounded T. All right. So basically, when you're going to see about this golden triangle and then put that 5 parameter to be simplified, at least you need to really memorize about this 3 letter SMT. Specific, measurable, and time. SMT of what? You need to answer about these 3 questions. What to do? S. How much to do? Measurable. Make it measurable. M. And then when to finish? Time bounded. All right. So understanding this SMT will definitely be an essential but already very effective way for you to do your target setting. However, I would like to dive in further on the a very essential technique on how to make this SMT to be even more effective. Right, T is actually nothing very complicated. So I just want to say a single word that I repeat again. What I'm saying about the right target setting is the right time setting is actually so important. Not a month, not a year, not 2 years for losing 10 pounds. So for losing 10 pounds, say for example, whether say not a week but a month, would it be easier? 3 weeks would be more effective. So you actually need to do this with the right and effective time setting. Make sure that you understand that well in our job. Not every single project, not every single task, actually consume us, for a whole year. So if that is a yearly target, make it as a year. If it is not, maybe probably just, half year, a quarter, a month, that would be enough for you, to fulfill and execute fully about that target. That would be also one of the very essential points that you need to take into account. So T is things about that. But again, T is actually not that complicated, but I would say S and M comes to a little bit more complicated for you to make a really effective target setting. S, specific. What to do? What to do? Suddenly ask you what to do. It's not easy for you to figure out and particular actions. So we always say that there is a target. But for achieving, by achieving this target, well, actually we are going to, fulfill and other things starting from P, which is the purpose. Remember, every single target, the backside of that would be a purpose. We are going to actualize that purpose. In order to actualize that purpose, we need to achieve certain targets. That's all about, target and purpose, Think about that. Every single company would have, particularly very outstanding company, would have their corporate mission, would have their philosophy. It's nothing short term, it's actually very long term, 50 years later, 100 years later, 500 years later. So later on, our company existence, the purpose of the existence, why our company need to be there for 200 years, is something very long term. But make it a little bit short term, you found out the middle to long term strategy, like 3 to 5 years, right? And at least this year, say for example 2018, there will be some target that you need to do. This is our yearly target. Again, a little bit like the cascade down. If you want, as an individual, to set up the right what to do, specific enough, but it also need to be well bounded with the purpose of the backside. So if you are an individual working for a team, so you need to align your what to do, that specific stuff, with your team target. That is actually the purpose of that. If you're a team leader, you actually need to align it with your department target. If you're a department manager, you actually need to align it with your company target. So for that, the very important things out there is we always say about back to the purpose. And who are able to tell through the purpose is everything, about, the manager's, communications. So make sure that when we are going to start our target setting period, and then our general manager, our managing director will be going to communicate about the yearly goal. And then when yearly goal is being communicated with the manager, then manager is going to communicate with every single individual to let them understand about the purpose of what they are going to set for the targets. So to be specific, you actually always need to have the purpose in your head. S, M. How much to do? Well, I would say how much to do. This M, measurable, is always the most complicated and difficult. I've been, reading through a lot of different, target setting sheets, and usually what I couldn't find is always about the measurable, the measurement. Let me jump into one conclusion that if that statement doesn't carry any M, just S and T. Say for example, I'm going to do certain thing. All right, so I won't say that as a target. In job, it is called as a job descriptions. It's a job description. If you put your job description into target setting sheet, I'm so sorry about that. You won't be rewarded if even you are, achieving it or you are executing it, because if you are just doing your job description for all over the year, so this achievement is actually being compensated by monthly salary. You are just executing your job description. You are not doing certain thing with a quantified, agreeable target. So that's why I won't reward you by any kind of incentive or bonus. All right. So make sure that you are not putting the job description onto the target setting sheet, but the target setting with S, specific, M, measurable, the measurable how much to do, and then the time bounded T. So you need to have these three things inside that. And say for example, M is so much difficult because a lot of people misunderstood, for one single thing. It's nothing about that particular action, how many times that you are going to repeat it. No, not about that. For example, I'm a sales assistant. My job is more on the, inputting purchase order. All right. So when there is a sales, and then sales pass me the sales order, the purchase order, and then I'm going to input it into the system. So my goal is throughout the whole year, I'm going to input 100 purchase order. 100 purchase order. Think about that. Is it effective? No. You see that measurable. Yeah, 100 is something measurable, is something quantified. However, it's nothing effective. Think about that. Easy. Having how many pieces of the PO, is it controlled by the sales assistant? No. It's actually the salesperson job. Salesperson go for the clients and then do the sales pitch, and after that, the clients agreed why, and that's why they send the purchase order to us, and then the sales assistant try to input to the system. That's why 100 is actually it's not realistic because it's not controlled by you. So why are you going to take it as a target? All right. So it's nothing about how many times you are going to repeat that particular behavior. Right? It's actually how you are going to quantify the result of doing that things. Okay? Again, a little bit similar to what I'm just mentioning about one single phrase, very important phrase called back to the purpose. Think about that. For a sales assistant, what's the purpose of the functions? The function is not going to get purchase order. The function is when the salesperson got the purchase order from clients and pass it to the sales assistant. All right, and then the sales assistant's function is, the role is, input the sales purchase order accurately, and then into the system, and then let our vendor, let our factory start manufacture about that goods, and then ship to the clients, and then finally these sales transaction make more sense, and then we can receive money, right? So it's nothing about how many pieces of the purchase order to be input. It's all about there should have zero mistake. Zero mistake. The function of the sales assistant is actually to input it accurately, to communicate, not to miss any single pieces of the PO, not inputting one zero more and one zero less into that quantity, and then to input it accurately, to divert to our vendor and also our manufacturer, right? So the quantified part is actually nothing about the times to repeat the action. It's actually the result, how to have zero mistake. So as a sales assistant, throughout the whole year, this is actually the T. I'm going to input the sales order, the purchase order. It's actually a specific what to do. And then without any mistake or with zero mistake. This zero or without mistakes is actually how we are going to quantify it, to make it measurable for the how much to do. All right? So this is the most tricky part. I really want you guys to be very much understanding that SMT is something simple. But if you are going to really digest it, execute it in your workplace, really try to commit it, and then you need to really be very much careful to see through about the target setting sheet, the target setting statement, whether these SMT could be found there or not. And finally, just how I mentioned one thing is called as a job description. All right, let me go a little bit further about this concept. Well, actually, for every single one of us, we are being hired for certain job, right? But when you are having your function, say for example, sales assistant. So first of all, what is your role and responsibility? All right, so it comes to these first. We call it the roles and responsibilities. So think about that. What's the roles and responsibility of a sales assistant? Is, well, assisting salesperson. That's it. Very abstract, very vague. Inside this abstract role and responsibility, there will be a lot of different things that we are able to do and we can do or we must do. However, people in our every single day job, we are just putting a focus on certain area. That is our usual job, description. Or we can call it as a job duty. We are just focused on certain JD. All right. In our role, we can do a lot of different things, but we just focus on certain JD in our daily activity, in our weekly activity, in our monthly activity. Okay. So when we are going to set up our goal setting, our target setting, think about that. It's something like this role and responsibility, and then the JD is something like a 2-layer cake. And then the bigger the fundamental side, the foundation is actually our role and responsibility, which is bigger. And then on top of that, there will be a certain focus, it's called as JD. All right. And then what we are going to do is to, on top of that JD, try to make it to be quantified of certain particular action which is fitting that year's purpose, that year's target. So sometimes we are going to set up some target here. Say for example, particularly for sales functions. Your every single day you really need to focus on is really about the sales transaction, sales revenue. So every single day you are going to do client visit, you are going to propose, you are going to do sales pitch, you are going to get a lot of the buy-in from the clients and then get the purchase order. So that is the sales job duty. And when you are going to put your target setting of that year, likely you are more easier to put it on top of that job duty. However, some of the people will say that we are actually working for the back-end function, say for example accounting, say for example HR. So our job is not really that easy to put it into the target setting. It's not easy for us to make target setting. But I would say there are two things. One, it's nothing about you cannot make the target setting, but just you put the M wrongly on how many times. But not actually how many times, it's actually the result. How we are going to quantify the results. So if you are having the skill to quantify about the results, then definitely no matter what role you are in, the front line, the back side, and then definitely that would be a way for you to make the target setting. And also, sometimes you need to be very much not only about understanding about how to make SMT, but also you need to be very much innovative. Think about that. We have a very big abstract job role and responsibility. However, we are just focusing on certain things on our daily basis to be our job duty, right? Job description, right? That means, actually there are something that is not my daily activity focus, but I still can execute that stuff in order to fulfill my role better. That means you are not going to put that triangle on top of the JD. You might put that triangle on certain things that you didn't do at all. For example, alright, so receptionist, okay, it's actually the very front end and very important person as a window of our clients. Every single time when there is a visitor come over to our office, and then the receptionist is actually the first person representing our company to show our customer service level. Right? So what's the job duty of the receptionist, alright? So when the visitor comes, and then we check our system, and then find out the right place to usher the guest to the right room, and then to ask our the right colleagues to come over to the room to have that meeting. So it's actually something that JD, the job duty of a receptionist. And also, for example, what to do. She might, receptionist might also need to clean up the room, tidy up it a bit, after the use of the room, after the client is actually, getting out from the office. So this is actually the JD. Hey, come on. So if I'm going to do, usher clients to the room and this and that, tidy up the room, so make target settings not so easy. So, just usher within 10 seconds, or usher, without any, mistake, this and that. Is it effective? Yeah. You can make it measurable, but it's not motivational, right? So if you are going to make a target setting for that receptionist, so definitely you need to have an innovation to think out of the box of nothing about the daily activity, but about things related to that role and responsibility. Say, for example, as I mentioned, receptionist is actually the role of our window of our customer service level to every single client visiting us. So when these receptionists, just go over, say for example, back to the office for some administrative tasks, or go to the toilet, when there's a client come, and then when the receptionist is not there, colleagues, just pass by. But the colleagues pass by doesn't care much about that guest, just because he or she doesn't know about how to run the visitor system, doesn't know how to check the schedule and put into the right room. So as a receptionist, if you are innovative enough, what I would think about my role of a customer service representative is I would try to make a menu for the workflow of how to check the system. And then, put it into 20-minute sections, split it into 3 times to let our entire employee understand how to use this visitor system. So in case when I'm going to say toilet, when I'm out from desk, and then when there is a colleagues, and then they can offer help to the guests as well in order to maintain the overall customer service level. This also fitting my role and responsibility. However, making manual and also open whole three sections, to teach others how the workflow, how's the workflow is. It's nothing about the daily activity. It's something out from the usual job duty. Okay, so think about that. If you are innovative enough, and definitely you are able to find something out from your job description to put it into your target setting, which is also fitting your must, because your role and responsibility is much bigger than the job duty, your daily focus. All right. And for some people, they might put some goal, right? Say, for example, there are 5 target settings that you need to make on the target setting sheet for the whole year. So 3 of them bounded, linked with your daily activity, linked with your usual job description. However, another 2 goals will be more innovative to put it something, something that you are not going to do on a daily basis, something that you've been, having no experience about. So you will make your, target setting to be more fruitful, to be more comprehensive. So by understanding about innovations, right? So just now I've been repeating, I've been saying about, why, okay, the purpose of having this. Again, it's actually for boosting up the motivation. However, target setting doesn't boost up the motivation. Effective target setting does, right? So this must-want can is actually a must-consider factor. All right, for you. And also for the house size, simple. We are just sharing about 2 different ideas. One is about the SMART. If you think that SMART actually having 5 letters is actually too difficult for you, then 3 letter SMT would be easier for you to memorize and easier for you to apply as well. And finally, we are talking about one single thing, talking about innovation. Let's be innovative to understand our overall role and responsibility better. With that understanding, then you can use your innovation to set up something that is really still under your must scope, but something maybe also hit your want. Oh, something interesting. Something not boring, something not tedious, something is actually very creative, make you feel more want. And finally, because of that, and then your ability is actually getting increment, getting more and more ability out. So that's a very good situation if you understand well your role and responsibility, and also you'll be able to apply your innovation to that. Okay, so wish this session give you a very good idea about why we need to do that and how we are going to do so. And then if you are going to do an effective target setting, then it brings all the passion, it brings all the motivation and energy for you to execute your work with a very high fulfillment. So that is what we aim. And also for company, when our individual could have such a skill and also applied it with, execute it with energy and also passion and motivation, and definitely company result would be achieved at the same time.